we have often said is that a lot of times people who might be marginalized in a culture, whether it's because of race or gender or some ethnicity, or whether it's because they aren't in the coolest department,
Mm-hmm.
they are the people that typically send up the red flags that something is not working in your culture. And guaranteed, even the people who might be enjoying the most, the enjoying that culture the most, even they may not be getting what they should be getting in order to reach their fullest potential. And so that's very critical. And we know, one of the things we all also know is that while we actively, measure uh, employee engagement, employee engagement, while highest, global employee engagement, while highest in the United States, it's still only around 35% on average if you look at all the engagement studies.
Q12 golf.
Yeah, and globally, outside of the United States, it's around 20 some odd percent. Now, here's the thing. The question is, are we measuring the right thing during this very tumultuous
Uh-huh.
change, right? And I would argue that employee engagement right now, these numbers are more reflective of the fact that the focus of work is changing. The ranking of work in somebody's life is changing. And I think the folks in the United States now are starting to realize work may not be the number one thing in my life. I think in Europe and other places globally, that has
Different.
been that way for a
Mm-hmm.
long time.
Mm-hmm.
This does not mean, though, that people don't want to do purposeful work. It
Mm-hmm.
does not mean they don't want to work. It does not mean they don't want to do purposeful work that contributes to the success of the companies they work for. And this is the major miscalculation of leaders who came of professional age in the 20th century. They, first of all, think work should be number one thing you should be focused on. And they keep talking about it. And if I hear it one more time, my head's going to explode. If I hear one more time a boomer leader, and I'm a boomer, let me just say I'm sensitive to this, but if I hear another boomer manager leader, I just heard Morning Joe, what's his last name? It'll come to me. But if I hear another boomer say, these people don't want to work anymore, they don't have a work ethic, they don't want to go back to the office, my head is going to explode.
Mm.
This is a major miscalculation and understanding of what is happening in the talent force today. It is not that people don't want to work. They've rejiggered the priority that work takes in their lives, but they still want to work. Many of them want to work hard at things that matter. They want to be acknowledged for that work. They want to make sure that they are contributing to the growth of the company. And so we actually measure in our top measure, we measure a lot of other engagement, but our top measure is actually, would you recommend working at this company to someone else? What that is, that net promoter score, right? That employee net promoter score. Because engagement isn't necessarily always a measure of how well or how productive somebody's going to be,
Mm-hmm.
how good they're going to be, or how dedicated they are to that company. But that employer net promoter score is the key to understanding whether that employer brand is creating talent gravity. Because the goal here is to try to get the great talent that's out there and have them work for you. And if you aren't creating talent gravity because you don't have an inclusive, positive work culture, then talent is going to do a number of things. They're going to either go work for somebody else, or as we have seen in this current economy, man, they're working for themselves, because that's what the knowledge driven, information driven economy does, right? it has opened up spaces for individuals to just work on their own. We're starting to see a huge growth in freelance culture, a huge growth in small startups and small businesses, this digital nomad that we're seeing going around the world, right? They're working from wherever and whatever they want to do. And many of them are largely working for themselves. And so this is not because they don't want to work hard. It's not that they don't want to do quality work, but what they have found is that they can live the lives they want to live. And they have asked themselves a hard question that, quite frankly, I didn't even ask myself until late in my life, which is, what kind of lifestyle do you want to lead?
Mm.
It's an important question that everybody needs to ask. And a lot of people are answering, I want a less complicated lifestyle, not driven by the accumulation of stuff or the accumulation of money or 5,000 houses or 3,000 boats, which, back in the old days when I grew up, it was 1980s, greed was good, right? And you wanted to accumulate stuff. I remember hearing somebody on Fox talking about, well, I don't understand this generation. I couldn't wait to start working and making money. Well, these folks today, they want to make something substantive. They want to be creative. They want to be innovative. Making money is actually secondary to living the kind of life that they want to lead. Because as one person told me, you can only live in one house at a time. You can only sleep in one bed at a time. And I'd much rather accumulate experiences, which are often very customized and a lot less money than owning 7 houses.